Welcome to Your Funeral Coach Talks, a bi-monthly podcast hosted by Lisa Baue, founder of Your Funeral Coach, a consulting and mentoring company serving the funeral, cremation, and cemetery profession. Listen in today to the marketing series as she interviews thought leaders and difference makers in her profession.
We're here today with Sean Fagan of Leap Tie Marketing. Sean and his wife, Michelle, are an incredible marketing firm. They're part of our collaborative network group, and we are going to talk about some things about the FTC. We're going to talk a little bit about what we should be doing in marketing and what we should not be doing. And so I hope you enjoy today's session. Sean, tell us a little bit about Leap Tie, and then let's get on to a couple of fun topics.
Okay. Well, Lisa, thanks for having me today. Leap Tie is a marketing and strategy agency for the funeral profession. We work with cemeteries, funeral homes, cremation type businesses, and even some firms that do events and other things with their facilities. We've been doing it for about 20 years. We had the privilege of working with you, and we have clients all over the country.
Wonderful. Yes, we had a lot of fun together, and we're still having fun together, Sean. We're kind of beating up on
we're having new fun with this project.
Yeah, we're having new fun, right. We're beating up on some old marketing ideas that really need to go away and bringing in some new marketing ideas to clients that they really need to embrace and think about more as they look at their websites, they look at their social media, they look at how they present themselves to the public and how they market their business when they're out and about in community outreach programs and things like that. We've learned so much from you, and it's so much fun to talk marketing because that's one of my passions too that I love. Well, let's talk about the FTC. Okay. So we got a little thing going on with the Federal Trade Commission. Most recently, where they are reviewing the funeral rule, and they're telling us that now funeral homes, and I'm pretty sure I listened in on the hearings, it was 100% vote to consider requiring all funeral home companies to put all of their pricing online. That is not being well received by many in our profession. Some are okay with it because they're already doing it. Some are not. So, it's not just putting packages up there. You have to put your GPL. And I'm pretty certain this is going to go through. That's my sense. I'm not absolutely 100% certain, but my guess is, probably going to happen. And we need to get used to it. And we need to figure out what else to do with that. I mean, why is it so scary for funeral homes? Why is it something that's upsetting them with the possibility of online pricing being mandated? What do you think about that, Sean?
Well, I think it was inevitable. I think it's something that just needed to be addressed whether the FTC did it or not. I think this is one of the professions where, because pricing is complex, there's been a hesitancy to put it out in front of what people do. And philosophically, I agree with that, because it's just like asking how much does a cart of groceries cost? It depends on where you shop and what you eat. The answer is different everywhere you go and every time you go. So the funeral profession and funeral service is that way. It is not a commodity. But on the other hand, I don't necessarily sympathize with people that think it's the worst thing ever, because this problem's not new. Funeral directors, not all of them, of course, but the profession as a whole has done a lot to commodify what they do themselves, even before the FTC brought up the notion of putting prices online. And I think a lot of that comes down to how they present themselves, both online with their business listings on all the major directories like Google, Yelp, and the rest. If they're not looking tip-top, how does your facility look? How do you conduct yourself at services? How are you making yourself stand out? And how are you actually giving pricing out over the phone, which has never not been happening? People have always been calling around for pricing. So
they have. But do you think funeral homes? Yeah. Do you think funeral homes overall really know how to deal with the shopping customer over the phone or online? I mean, is that their biggest fear? And why is it they're so upset? I mean, because they're not doing it right in the first place, or what do you think?
I think I do think that the concern that just putting prices online commodifies funeral service is legitimate. I do think that that's a real thing. The thing is, I have surveyed thousands of funeral homes by phone, hundreds of them in person, and I don't have to read anything. They do it every time I call. They
Tell us what they do.
Don't
Tell us what they do.
What's different.
Do they do it well, or do they not do it well?
Ugly.
It's ugly. It's ugly.
Some
I know
do, some don't, but mostly no.
You've audited us before, and then you gave me the results, and I got to sit back and listen to the recordings of how our staff answered the phone, and I was like, oh my, we have a lot of training to do.
Well, so yeah, I mean, the idea isn't to, because again, there's a context there too. When a person calls, a funeral director could be doing 11 things. They could be setting up a funeral service, trying to get death certificates ready for pickup, watching somebody cross the parking lot with a box full of personal items for the next setup, answering the phones, trying to enter a death certificate, trying to meet an ad deadline. They could be doing all of these things when a shopper calls. So it's not.
It never fails. It's a never fail thing. Or you're out in the middle of a funeral, right? Right. And your phone rings and your staff says, Lisa, I got a shopper on the phone and I don't know what to do with it because we haven't trained our staff how to handle these calls very well. That's what I found in the early beginnings. Are you still finding that funeral homes aren't doing this well, Sean? Is that why they're so afraid of this funeral rule? Because they don't know how to cope with it now that consumers will have a choice online where they can do comparisons? Are they afraid of losing business? I mean, what's the biggest fear here?
Well, I think they are. I think they're afraid, but the key to getting beyond this and succeeding with it, whether it becomes mandatory or not, something that our firms have been doing all along, you did when we worked together, was you have to create a difference. If people are calling your firm and asking about pricing, a lot of that comes from maybe they really can't see any differences before they call, so they have this assumption that everybody pretty much does the same thing. And, based on what I can see, it's probably mostly going to be the cost that's different. And the way that you turn this into something you can succeed with is to come up with differentiators, not just online, not just on the phone. It's a strategy to take away that assumption that everybody's the same, and it's just the cost that's different. So I have like 4 what I call pivot points where people
Tell us what
are
those are.
Gravitate toward. Well, the first starts with how you're found, and that would be all your major directory listings, your Google, your Bing, your Yahoo, your Yelp, Apple Maps, all those business directories is where sometimes people see you first, even before your website. And Google's doing a lot to try to provide as much information right on those business directory listings so that a person can see information about you, what you're all about, your phone number, and have you call directly from that without ever even going to your website.
Right. And I think that's scary.
But they do give you a lot of tools.
I think that's scary for a lot of funeral homes, that they feel that they'll never even get a chance to talk to the consumer or the shopper because they'll just look at their website and look at their price lists online and make a decision from there. Is that I'm guessing that's what most fear.
Well, that's what they fear, but people might not even make it to the website. That's the problem is if you search for funeral homes near me and you click on a business listing, especially on mobile, a lot of information appears in front of your eyes. And if your listing's not claimed, it's not optimized, you haven't used all the tools that Google and the other directories have given you to put pictures, videos, information, you can put the whole navigation of your website onto your Google business listing and pull people right to pages that interest them directly from your Google business listing. But you have to have a website that's worth staying on if they do that.
Good. Really good point. So if the shopper, because of the FTC, comes out and all of a sudden, oh God, great, everything's online now. So all I have to do is just go Google my local funeral homes and I can pull out their price lists. I can just compare them. So when you hit that landing page, right? And even if you Google it or in your own hometown, say I'm the shopper, right? And I want to go look at 3 funeral homes and I'm facing my mother's death and I'm going to go look. What do you think I'm going to see first when I get on their website? It better be something that differentiates you from other people. Because what you're saying is it's more than just the prices. It's what their first impression is of you on your website. Do you appear really different? Do you appear like a great, loving, caring firm that's going to really take care of them? Or do you have a video on there with the owner, with you talking to the customer who's looking at you saying, we're going to take care of you in very special ways, and you deserve that when you're facing a death? That's the first thing they should see, not all these obituary notices, not a general price list. I mean, how you appear, this is like another location, right?
Yeah.
It's another location.
Well, your website is a location. So we talked about these 4 pivot points, and you asked me, what are they? So the first one is, how are you found? So if you're not being found and you're in a competitive market, that's an issue. You're losing and you don't even know it. Assuming that you can be found, you're competing on the site where you were found, not your own website yet. You have to have a business listing that stands out to become a in the running candidate for one of the things that I want to check out. Next is how you're seen, and that kind of, the business listings are a segue into what am I going to see when I land on this website. And that's something that your website has to be the center of your strategy, because people are going to land there from all different ways. They're landing from shared links to obituaries. They're landing from searches. They're landing from seeing a URL on a billboard, a TV, or a mail piece. They know the URL and they just go there. So what happens when they land there? You can go to any town and search funeral homes near me and see lots of pictures of beautiful forests and wheat fields and running,
and they all look the same.
All kinds of beautiful pictures.
Well, they all look the same.
But that's what people are seeing. They're not seeing anything that applies to maybe what's on their mind about why should I choose this place. So they, that's a prettier sunset than the last one. But I'll ask them what's their price, because I'm not shopping for sunsets. So
they're not seeing your beautiful
facilities. That's what they do. And they start the conversation with how much does it cost. So as you know, from working with us when we did, to erase those similarities, you really need to get away from stock photography, incorporate video, and show people things that give them permission to ask you about ideas that they might have in their mind. So it's not just a picture of your merchandise rooms or a picture of the chapel. A picture of the family can go a long way, or the team, because it shows we're trying to build the context of your care and what people can want. Because at the end of the day, you and I both know we're not selling caskets and holes in the ground and urns. We're selling an experience. And that really starts with that first impression, no matter where it is. It could be a mail piece. It could be a brochure. It could be attending a service. It could be a business listing, and it is often the website. So what are we doing to take away those assumptions, and what are we doing to show possibilities? And we did a lot of that with you. You didn't do standard
heart-touching moments.
Funerals.
Yep, heart-touching moments. We
people
believed in that.
Mm-hmm. And some people want what is, let's say, a standard traditional funeral with the pastor speaking and people in traditional clothing and a service at the church and a graveside service afterward. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with those things. But more and more people are looking for something a little different. My mom's generation was the one that burnt their bras and didn't go to Vietnam and do all this stuff. And they're not gonna,
Your mom burnt her bra? No kidding. Or did she really?
She didn't, but her generation did. Yeah. No, I think she still got them all. I'm not sure.
Good.
I don't count them.
Next time I see your mom, I'll have to ask her.
Yeah, but you know what I'm talking about. That generation they made the world their own, and they were very impactful, and that's the world we have today, and it's everyone else is finding their way. Culture has changed, traditions have changed, and if you're not showing possibilities of what people can have, you're not giving them permission to ask you about new ideas that they might have, and that could be having a service that's not at a funeral home or a church. That could be a venue type funeral. That could be a golf course.
So show that on your website.
John Kirk.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, if you go to lafuneral.com, the first thing you see is a golf course. Then you'll see a beach funeral. You'll see funeral homes. You'll see his locations. But nothing thrills him more than getting a call from 3 or 4 hours away from somebody that wants to have a funeral on the beach.
I think
when
that's
they drive
cool.
by
So
funeral
LA
to see
Funeral,
other funeral
LA
homes.
Funeral, right? Let's send everybody there. LAfuneral.com, right?
Right. Yep. And that's
LAfuneral.com.
just,
Very unique.
yeah, it's pretty easy. It is.
Yeah.
So John does amazing things. Anyway, this isn't all about him, but that's an example.
No,
And you
but
don't have to have beaches in the facilities he's got. You can do things in a park. He does backyard funerals. People can have a funeral in a backyard.
that's really
And if
cool.
you're not offering a way to be of service to people, you're losing a chance to serve them and
Right. And
be
then
chosen. And maybe that's why they're calling for direct cremation. A lot of these direct cremation cases, that's all you see, but they're doing something else without you. So you have to
they
put
are.
yourself out there as an option for other things.
I absolutely agree with that. And you have to do it as soon as possible, because if the FTC is going to require pricing online, what do they see when they first land on your homepage before they even go to your pricing? Depending on if the FTC actually micromanages where you have to put it online. I mean, if I don't know if they'll go to this level, if they'll put it up on a tab where it says GPL or prices or what they're going to require of us. I mean, they've gone to the point and the extent of even telling us what kind of language we have to use, which is not something I really favor, when you have to use the word body versus we want to use the word decedent or something like that, right? So they don't understand somehow how delicate sometimes that language needs to be when we're working with people who are grieving and mourning. And that to me is something that I don't know if we'll ever get across to them. I know we tried in the hearings, the early hearings they tried in the testimony, and hopefully we'll get through to them this next time as far as being more sensitive to when they require us to present the pricing. It's not a matter of if is fine. It's the when. I mean, the minute someone tries to talk about anything that you charge for, they require us to make that statement that I just want to let you know that funeral prices are available online. And we have to interrupt families to say that, giving them a tour or greeting them at the door and trying to give them a hug.
Right.
And then you got to stop for a minute and make that statement and hand them a price list. How disruptive is that to a family whose young child has just died? I mean, come on, FTC, let's get this real. So I'm hoping those kind of changes will get through to them. You know, it's not if we have to produce our pricing. And, you know, let's talk about price lists a little bit, Sean. They don't have to, be black and white and ugly. I mean, they could show on the price list when people have one takeaway. You know, you can give them all the fancy brochures you want if they walk in your door. You can show them really cool stuff online. But the one thing if they're really looking for that price list, what does it look like when they see it? And does it clearly show who you are as a company and the services you provide that go along with that price? You know, a lot of people say, keep it simple, just give them a black and white, one-page deal. I say, turn your price lists, and maybe I'm wrong, but it's always worked for us, turn your GPL into a brochure. Because if they keep one thing when they walk in the door that they take away that they don't throw in the wastebasket, it's that price list. Right? And I want them to have something that makes us look beautiful and warm and caring and friendly, and show them the kind of services, like you said, that are unique and different that will meet their needs both now and in the future. I think that's important.
Mm-hmm. It is. The price list is an incredibly important tool. Like you said, it's the one thing that people are mandated to receive.
Yes.
You'll have no argument from me that the FTC has made them a horrible mess that is not even decipherable by funeral directors. In some cases, I've sat with funeral directors and they can't find their own pricing. But if you think about it in the context of maybe even a car, cars have window stickers. I don't know if the FTC or the DOT or somebody mandated window stickers are structured the way they are, where that has a package and options, and every little thing is
they all kind of look
listed.
The same, don't
but,
they?
If you were buying a car, and a car salesman just handed you a window sticker, and you just compared cars by looking at window stickers, you really wouldn't see or feel or experience what you're getting. There's how a car feels when you sit in it. It's how it smells. It's how it sounds when it starts. It's the comfort of the ride. And I personally believe that test driving funeral homes is something that people should do. You don't have to go in and shop and ask for prices. Just look at next time you go to a funeral service. If this was my family and I had to be here, how does this place feel? How does this staff treat people? What does everything look like? How does it feel? How does it smell? Same as a car. I think that's really important to think about. Getting back to, these aren't holes in the ground and an hour of visitation and, so many miles for a transfer. It's an experience, and it starts with that first discovery. It continues to that first phone call and all the way to and through that day, and maybe even into real person aftercare type programs that sustain that relationship until the next time your services are needed. So those are all
Really
things
good
that I'm
points.
very passionate about. And those are things that your marketing have to take into effect, your strategy. It's not, you can spend a ton of money on SEO and Google AdWords and all these things, but if you're sending people to a website that shows a sunset and you have a wagon wheel for a logo, which is okay, but you also have to look at what
Only
are
if you're out west,
people's sensibilities.
in the prairie.
Maybe. I mean, you see them everywhere, and I see them in cities where they don't belong. There haven't been wagons in cities.
Oh my gosh!
I'm not making fun of wagon wheels.
No. But if your website looks like you're
but if your logo's
everybody
not
else,
professional,
right?
if you're
Yeah.
Well, that's the other thing. So, how are you taking away assumptions? There are towns, and not even big cities, but towns. Well, let's just pick on Detroit.
Detroit.
I
There we
had
go.
to do some research for a firm in Detroit, and there are no less than 10 firms using the exact same website template with the exact same tech, the exact same stock photos on the pages about what they do.
Holy cow.
Yes. From one website provider, and of course there's probably 50 funeral
That's
homes in and around
crazy.
Detroit.
No differentiation.
And that's just
at
one
all.
provider.
Right.
None at all. So if a person sees that, again, they're left with, well, I'll just see how much they cost, not what can they do for me or what do they do differently. They're also looking, and this gets to how do you communicate your values. So you're moving beyond the website. If you're doing a good job, you're in the running because you've shown real photos, possibly videos, customer reviews, all these things right on your website, not letting people all go off to Google and Yelp to search reviews. You're putting all this in front of them to communicate, this is different. I definitely need to call this place because it's different. They're showing me, they're telling me, I can see it, I can feel it. The next thing that happens to communicate that value fully in the context of your cost is the phone call. And how are your phones answered? How fast are they answered? How does that process go? I can tell you that are you calling about burial or cremation? Do you think you want services with that, which comes across as, would you like fries with that? They're not even asking my name, the name of the person. If services are needed now, they don't even ask any of these things.
This is a staff training issue.
It is, but a lot of firms don't think of that as marketing. So if you're spending a few $100 to a few $1,000s a month on SEO and making your phone ring more often, and then people fall into a black hole when the phone gets picked up because somebody terrible's on the other end of the phone and they're not writing down who they spoke to or keeping a log, asking their name.
They disconnect you. They put you on hold forever. They stumble over things.
Well, the challenge is,
yeah,
I mean, some calls are really that bad. Some are worse than that bad. But at the end of the day, you can have a beautiful website even. And if you don't have this figured out, your phone call's worse than one of those template websites out there. So that's another part of this experience. There's a continuum of care that begins from somebody discovered you all the way through to that arrangement conference with the funeral director. And then even what happens in there matters. But the challenge is, get back to the FTC, maybe making you put your prices online. There are ways you can do that. There's, like you said, California, Oregon are already doing it. We have clients in both those states. They didn't lose all their business. They're actually doing great. So this isn't something to be afraid of. It's something to take on as a challenge and figure out, how can I do better than everyone else that has to do this same thing? And that's where the opportunity, it's an opportunity. It's not the end of the world.
I agree. You taught us that, Sean.
Talking about, phone call is important part of that. So if you don't have a good website to back up what you're talking about on the phone, you have to think about, and nobody else can see me doing this, Lisa, but I'm going to hold my phone to my head.
Okay.
How much information can you convey through the mouthpiece of a telephone?
As much as you want.
Honestly, you can't do a good job describing everything you do without visuals.
True.
So that's why you need to follow through after a phone call with hopefully an email that has links to your website, maybe your general price list that has pictures that they can print out. Because otherwise, what someone's going to do is get a Post-it note and write down that I talked to Lisa at Baue's, and she said cremation was $3,295, which I don't know what your price is. It's not the price at Baue, but
okay.
Then they're going to call the next guy, and maybe they're $2,895, and you lose because $2,895 is less than $3,295 if you didn't do anything to differentiate.
I agree. Now, I have to say, because now we've probably made all the listeners go, oh my gosh, what do I do with this? What do I do now? Because I am afraid to let my people on the phone talk to customers who are shopping, and I'm the only one that can do it. And I've seen this happen in firms that I coach, is that the owner is the one that wants to just take all the calls. Well, that is depending on the size of your community and the size of your firm, that you will never get a day off. I'm just going to tell you, your phone always has to be attached to you, and you've got to teach your staff how to answer the phone as well as you think you do. And, frankly, when you audit some of these owners, they don't do a great job either, even though they think they do. So you have some training, and I don't want to forget, we could spend another podcast on the kind of training we need to do to better improve our skills when we talk to people on the phone, and the processes like thanking them, sending them an email, attaching, the price list, sending them links to various places on our website we want them to go, and then following up again with a nice caring phone call to say, did you receive what I sent? And just want to see if you have any more questions. Those are all good things. But you have this training that I want listeners to hear about. It's called Hello Shopper. And it's an amazing tool where you actually teach and train staff how to handle clients over the phone, potential clients, and then what to do next. And you help owners track shopper phone calls. Tell us a little bit about that before we have to end today, because I just think you have to combine your website with making the phone ring to the next level of service. And then if you get them in the door, which you always want to invite them in, you have to teach your staff how to give tours, how to talk about the benefits of what you offer. Help them design the benefits if you don't have them. But tell us a little bit about Hello Shopper before we have to say goodbye today.
Okay, I will. So this backs up to when I said Leap Tie is a marketing and strategy agency for the professions. The emphasis is really on strategy. Anybody can make logos or do SEO or all that kind of stuff. It's just that stuff is tactics. A strategy is a planned path through every touch point with the family that results in success, a happy family, and something booked in your business. So we don't do anything that's not part of a strategy. Everything is designed all the way through. You mentioned that owners might be feeling, oh my gosh, I'm intimidated by all this. I never thought about it that way. It's actually a lot easier, and it's not intimidating. It's a lot easier than most firms think. They just need to sit down and plan it out. Maybe you need help planning it out. Lisa helps with that. I help with that. Other companies help with that. Your other network partner, Greystone, does things that we're talking about as well. I think that the Hello Shopper tool that you talked about is kind of where our abilities to help the firm end. And there's not script. It's not complex. It's really easy. It's more of a best practices and a conversation path, because no two conversations ever go the same. You can't follow a script. They sound terrible. It's at the end of the day, everybody's doing the best they can. So what it does is it just kind of helps you remember what you're supposed to say and ask and discuss while you're on the phone. And it gives you a real easy way to send a follow-through message with those links and documents. It only takes like 90 seconds to follow through after a phone call. And we educate people about how to capture the email address or a phone number. Just best practices about this. And we're not the only ones that do that, like I mentioned.
But I think you do it very well.
That helps with that.
I'm going to pat you on the back for a second because I don't think you do that as well as you probably should. Because I've experienced what you train and I've experienced the Hello Shopper program. And I do have to say, it's very unique. It's very different. Yes, there are others that do it well, as you said, and they do a great job too. But what I love about what you have is the training that goes along with it and making it easier for the funeral homes to quickly send more information to their client families. It's a whole package of contact and communication that starts with, from the moment the phone rings. But before that, from the moment they search you online, because that's what makes the phone ring if you do it right. And then when the phone does ring, you teach the staff how not to be afraid of it. It really isn't
Right.
rocket science. For some people, it's very natural. People that are in sales are good at promotion, but sometimes you don't want to come off too salesy. You want to come off with more
Well,
questioning and
funeral
compassion and
directors,
education. Yeah, they're
yeah.
afraid to
I was
sell.
going to say, funeral directors didn't go to school for sales.
Yeah,
There's
they
a
didn't.
joke. I don't know who. I think it was maybe Doug Gober. I heard this from years ago. Is they go
Doug,
to school
yeah,
to work on the dead
probably
guy.
so.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
go to school
yeah.
to work on the dead guy. So, which is true, but we're interacting with the family and multiple family members. So, having tools that make communicating your value makes it easier to talk about your pricing. And that can be your website. You have
There
these
you
things
go.
that back up your pricing. So if you have can't say language, so I'll say if you have a not so great website, um, it's hard to say that cremation
Ugly.
is
Is that a good word?
$4,200.
Ugly website, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
That's okay.
Can't
I'll
can
say it
edit
for
that part
you.
out.
That's okay. That's all right. They don't have to worry about me.
Right.
That was
But
very
you need
politically
tools to
correct.
back up your pricing and you need tools to back up your pricing
You
and to
need tools.
communicate value. And you've always needed those tools. To circle this around to what we started talking about, which is the FTC making you put your prices online. Your prices have always been available without any context. And most of the
Indeed.
time people are getting those over the phone and you don't even know that you've had the same problem as the FTC. And they didn't do that. People have always been calling about funeral pricing.
Yes, they
They've
have.
always been getting it with no contact. And the GPL online is not going to change anything that they couldn't have gotten if they just called you without the price list online. So you really
I agree.
do need to develop a strategy that considers all of these things: how you're found, how you look, how you communicate value, and all the ways that you give a family to take next step towards choosing you, which is what most firms do not do at all, and which is why our clients and you and good firms do succeed. There's a lot of good firms without our help.
This
that
is called
succeed
job
too,
security
but
for us, Sean. I mean, this is a teaching moment for us to help others feel more comfortable with pulling all this together and not being afraid of the FTC and prices online. When I was a young funeral director, my dad was up north. I can't remember where. I know he went to Canada. I know he went to Chicago, and he spoke at the FTC hearings, and that was back before he died in 1987. So the FTC's been around for a long, long time, and we should not be afraid of it. We do have to comply with their rules. We may not like them, but there's ways to comply with them and use it and help your staff be more comfortable with it. I don't think we can do enough staff training in helping our staff be more comfortable over the phone, in person, in how they speak about the services we provide. Now, if you have challenges in those areas where you cannot clearly identify the uniqueness of your services over those of your competitors, then we need to talk some more. Because perhaps you need to change some things in your business model as well as as what you offer in your pricing and packages. And perhaps we need to talk
that's
about
just
how
it.
exactly, you can't just be the same old funeral home and do the same old stuff that's just lines up with the FTC required things inside your price list. You have to listen and look
Right.
more at what the future customer is going to want. And you need to change your business to better model yourself after tomorrow's choices and what they want. I'm a baby boomer. We definitely want those celebrations of life and parties and all those things. And if you're not showing that on your website when we first find you, And you don't see it when we take away that general price list. And I don't see anywhere on there that I can have catering. I can have a toast. I can do it in a park. I can do it in a beach. I can do it wherever I want in my own home. And you'll come help me. Then you're missing the boat. So the FTC is just a sidebar, in my opinion.
It is. There's a big difference between giving pricing and helping somebody understand pricing. And the onus is on the funeral directors to do that, with or without a priceless law, the funeral rule, whether it happened in 1980 or not. You've always had the challenge of helping people understand your pricing and why it's a good value. And this just is going to force a lot more people to do that. And I think in the end, that's going to be just better for the profession because we can show possibilities that maybe people have never seen before. If more people start adopting, taking on, I guess, the challenge of how am I going to contend with this and how am I going to succeed? And it's easy. You just have to do it.
You do have to do it. And you do have to call Sean at Leap Tie to learn how to do it better and more. And give me a call as well. I mean, we can help walk you through it. You get a free complimentary 1-hour consultation, or even if you need a little extra time than that, just to learn more about how we can help your firm and how we can help your presence and your image and your business model as you move forward. If you feel stuck, you probably are stuck. So let us know. But don't be afraid of the FTC because this is an opportunity. It might be a little challenging, but there's some people out here to help you. And Sean, I want to thank you again and your wife, Michelle, and Leap Tie for all you do in funeral service and all the wonderful things you're doing for the firms that you represent. If people want to get a hold of you, of course, email address is sean@leaptie.com. Yes?
Yeah, I give up my cell number, 585-657-7096. And I think I know I'm on LinkedIn because I post there.
I know you're on
really
LinkedIn.
Social other than that. Yeah. Yep. But, Lisa, thank you for giving me the opportunity. And this was fun to talk about. And I think it's really important for the profession to recognize that they have a responsibility to really communicate the value of what we all do, what every funeral home does for families. So they see it, and funerals aren't going to be important unless we do that.
I agree. And that's the ultimate end game, is that we want funerals to continue to be important. So thank you again for being with us today, Sean. And thank you, listeners, for joining us. And keep in tune and in touch so you can hear more from the great Sean. I call him the great Sean at Leap Tie. He's almost like a guru, like Johnny Carson used to be with that, Swami hat.
I don't wear any hats. I should.
You should. You wear a lot of hats. I watched you work, dude. So thanks everybody for being with us today. We'll be back, and we'll be back with Sean from Leap Tie Marketing again soon. Bye-bye.
We hope you enjoyed today's Your Funeral Coach podcast, and will join Lisa Baue and her guests again soon. Let us know if there are any topics you would like to hear more about. For more information on future shows, please go to yourfuneralcoach.com. If you enjoyed the show, consider giving us a 5-star review. Thank you.